Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another segment of the series Classical Greek Values and Modern Realities, sponsored by the Aristotle and Alexander Press. Today's segment is called Eros and Psyche, the Nature of Love. And with us we have Harrison Sheppard.
Thank you, Dimitri. Most viewers of this program will be familiar with the saying that the Greeks have a word for it. In English, we might say, I love my wife, I love humanity, I love to watch the sunrise. We use the same word for three different kinds of love. The Greeks, on the other hand, had three words, at least three words for love. Eros, which loosely translates desire. Philia, which we have used, for example, in the idea of brotherly love, as Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. And agape, which we have translated sometimes charity, or in the Judeo-Christian tradition, Christian love. Eros and Psyche is an ancient Greek myth that was actually first written down by the Latin writer Apuleius. It happens to be my personal favorite of the ancient myths, and it's the myth of the union of the young god Eros and Psyche, which in Greek, psyche means soul. So the myth of Eros and Psyche is the myth of the union of love and the soul, desire and the soul. There's a wonderful Greek sculpture, neoclassical sculpture by the French neoclassicist Canova of Eros and Psyche at the moment when Eros kisses Psyche when she has fallen into a swoon of death as part of the story. The images of Eros and Psyche have been recreated throughout history. Images of Eros taking Psyche to heaven. Images of Eros and Psyche being united with each other and married finally, with the ceremony presided over by Zeus. This idea of the union of Eros and Psyche, of love and the soul, is something that really is not only of mythical importance, but great philosophical and psychological value. In Plato's dialogue, the Symposium, he has Socrates give a speech about the nature of Eros, in which he says that which he says, by the way, he learned from a woman, that love is really a desire for something higher than ourselves. We can certainly feel that when we fall in love. We feel almost worshipful at our object of love. And what Plato was saying was that impulse of love, that impulse of Eros, really goes beyond our love of an individual and reaches toward something higher than ourselves. There's a poem that expresses this notion that we all have a longing to be united with something much higher than ourselves. It's called Ex Uno Plurus, from one there is many, which is the reverse of the motto of the United States, which says Ex Unibus Plurum, from many little states came one country. Ex Uno Plurus explains poetically the Platonic cosmology of desire for the one. And from that last primordial spark, unknowable instant of infinite sun, the worldly heart was born torn apart, hurled in pieces through eternal dark, to long and to long and to long to be one. Living's the skin of unplumbed dreams, a slender surface born from the deep, sounding the echoes of one heartbeat and pulsing to birth from unclotted stains 10 billion lovers with numberless names. What else is this I sense inside myself? Shardy sense of a splintered whole, kindled to sense by all kindred soul, a fragrant white that pierces to sight, a sweet mothy flight seeking the sun, the essence of being itself. This poem is actually a point of view about the nature of love and our being that's supported by modern physical science as much as it is by religion. If we are, after all, the result ultimately of a big bang, if we are all created out of the stardust from one point of light, it makes sense to feel that there may be something in our being that aspires to that unity. And that's what Plato is saying in the Symposium, and that's part of the myth of Eros and Psyche. But the Greeks had other words for love. Philia, from which we get the idea of brotherly love, the kind of love that allows us deep friendships, the kind of love that allows us to relate to other people in a sense of community. And then during the Christian era, the idea of agape, which became really understood as Christian love, of the kind that we can see great figures such as Mother Teresa expressing in their love for humanity. What is the nature of love? Well, we have all experienced it, but it's a very many splendored thing, to use an old title. But the most profound love, the love that we can be found in the expression of its understanding in classical Greek values, is the love that embraces all humanity and the cosmos itself, of which we are a part.
Harrison, there have been many developments in the psychology, modern psychology, since the ancient times. And Freud and Jung, they're the fathers of modern psychology. Now, has modern psychology, in effect, has overthrown what the ancient Greeks thought about the psychological dynamics of love?
I would say that modern psychology has not at all overthrown the most profound insights that the ancient Greeks had about the nature of love. What modern psychologists and psychiatrists have done have brought certain elements of a scientific method, real or assumed. The fact is that Freud related to ancient Greek myth the Oedipus complex, as a matter of fact, which is a Freudian notion, comes from ancient Greek myth. Carl Jung was very much impressed with Greek mythology and Greek notions of love. I would say that although modern psychology and psychiatrists use some of the sociological and scientific methods that the ancient Greeks did not use, the ancient Greeks, the writers, both in myth and in philosophy, such as Plato, have as profound a notion of the psychology of human love as any modern psychologist. They may not have an understanding of the chemistry of it, but you have to be a materialist to say, a pure materialist, to say that love only represents the flowing of certain chemicals and nothing to do with our spiritual nature. The Greeks understood the relationship of love to our spiritual nature, and in that respect, I think Plato is a much better psychologist than Sigmund Freud.
Thank you very much, Harrison. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Next Saturday's topic will be Greek architecture, Pericles and the Parthenon. I would like to remind you that the series is sponsored by the Aristotle and Alexander Press. Until next Saturday, have a great week. Thank you.